two young girls in the forest are about to be raped by bandits when they are saved by a giant knight in silver armor. Hours previously, the knight, really a gamer from Japan, had awoken in the body of his character, an 8-foot-tall skeleton with the best armor and weapons and all his physical and magical skills. Knowing a skeleton would scare people and make him a target, he decides to keep his helmet on at all times and renames himself Ark, using his game character's name. He spots a female elf in the first city he finds, but she disappears. As he has no money, he attempts to become an adventurer, but must earn his license by slaying 3 enemies. In the forest he slays a bull boar and an orc, and while searching for a third enemy witnesses bandits attacking a coach. He wonders if he should risk getting involved until he sees 2 young ladies about to be raped and violently kills the bandits. The ladies are the noble Lauren Louviert and her maid Rita. While they recover, Ark covertly loots all the bandits' valuables before escorting them to town. With the bandits and orc slain, he obtains his license and his first meal with the bandits' cash. Reasoning that he might be stuck in this new world permanently, Ark decides to have fun beginning his new life. Ark accepts a job protecting a young village girl named Marka as she collects medicinal herbs. Ark is curious about Marka's haste to begin, and Marka explains that she doesn't want her mother Shona, who has become overprotective since Marka's father died, to find out. They come across an injured kitsune, which Ark heals. The creature decides it wants to stay with Ark, and he names it Ponta for its fluffy tail. Shona learns of Marka's leaving the village, just as hunters arrive with news of an extra dangerous monster in the forest. Marka leads Ark to a tree with valuable medicinal flowers, but finds the tree is now the territory of the monster, a basilisk. Fortunately, Ark has fought them before in the game and kills it quickly. However, he asks Marka to keep this a secret for fear of drawing unwanted attention. He notices a magic ring on the basilisk, which shatters and disappears after the monster is killed. He returns Marka to Shona, along with a giant fanged boar, for the villagers to feast on, and then departs. Later that night, soldiers kill another basilisk, then come across the much larger corpse of the basilisk Ark killed. They notice it was killed by a single strike with an extremely large sword and wonder who killed it. While back in town, Ark and Ponta enjoy a feast. Accepting a job, Ark deals with bandits hiding in a forest cave, taking their treasure as loot. Elsewhere, it is revealed the attack on Lauren Louviert was a failed assassination ordered by Lord Triton Dinto, who was himself ordered by Prince Dackers to destabilize the kingdom in readiness for a war. Triton is also furious that his son, Udalin, is putting himself at risk leading their illegal slave operation. Back in the forest, a female elf watches Ark emerging from the bandits' cave and attacks him, accusing him of kidnapping elf children, until she sees Ponta, which she recognizes as a forest spirit creature. Since spirit creatures rarely trust mortals, she realizes Ark couldn't be a kidnapper. Ark offers his assistance, but she refuses. Ark follows her and finds the kidnapped elves being tortured by Udalin and his men. The female elf kills most of the slavers, but is forced to surrender when Udalin threatens the children. Ark overpowers Udalin and protects the children, allowing the elf to kill the rest. Ark then frees the captives and magically heals their wounds, to the elf warrior's amazement. Refusing to believe that Ark is a simple adventurer but convinced of his trustworthiness, the elf introduces herself as Ariane Gleanie's Maple. Ariane receives a message that more enslaved elves have been located, and hires Ark to help her. Ark and Ariane travel to the town of Dinto where they meet Ariane's elf comrade Danka, who immediately mistrusts Ark, although he is surprised Ark can use teleportation magic and manage to earn both Ponta's and Ariane's trust. As their attack on the slavers' warehouse won't be for hours, Ark leaves on personal errands, i.e., a meal in private. Ariane shares her perceived failure with Danka, as she was almost captured and had to be saved by Ark, and compares herself unfavorably to her older sister Evan. Ark buys food for himself and Ponta and hides in a deserted alley so he can remove his helmet to eat. As Ark, Ariane and Danka depart on their mission, a shadowy figure watches from a rooftop. In the warehouse, Ark and the two elves find that all the slavers have already been expertly assassinated, and Ark is overcome with otaku enthusiasm when the assassin turns out to be a female ninja with cat ears. Seeing Ponta, she realizes that Ark is trustworthy and gives him documents she stole naming nobles who have already purchased elf slaves, as well as the location of slaves kept by Lord Triton. Before departing, she also reveals that the elf slaves were not her goal, as her true target is not on the premises. After the trio free the elves, Danka becomes more amazed at Ark's magical skill, but trusts him enough to let him and Ariane go alone to Triton's palace. The female ninja is surprised that Ark even knew what a ninja was, and hopes to meet him again. After their attempts to silently enter the castle goes somewhat awry, Ark and Ariane capture Triton and Odalin, and the two female elf slaves, whom Triton had been sexually molesting, take their revenge on Triton, while Ark discovers a hidden treasure, which he loots for himself, telling Ariane that his taking the gold is simply to prevent the slavers from using it to rebuild their organization. The palace abruptly blows up, which Ark suspects was caused by the ninja. Ariane invites Ark to visit the elf lands, so they can continue rescuing slaves, although they would need an elder elf's permission for Ark to enter their lands. Afraid of being exposed while meeting the elder, Ark removes his helmet, showing Ariane his skull face and telling her his appearance is the result of a curse. Ariane promises that all elves will keep his secret and hopes the elder may know how to fix his appearance. In the capital city of Olav, the human king Carlin, his son Sect and Dackers and daughter Uriarna decide to investigate the rumors of slavery, which violates the human-elf peace treaty. They decide to contact the elves, though it is clear, both princes have their own hidden agendas. Uriarna is certain Dackers is secretly involved in the slave trade and that Sect has a plan to expose him, thereby strengthening his own claim to the throne. She decides to make sure that contacting the elves goes well and reaches out to her sister Siriarna, who married the ruler of the Limbult Duchy, the only domain currently trading with the elf lands. Ark and Ariane reach Ladoya, an enormous elf settlement deep in the forest. Ark meets the elder, Dylan, and his wife Gleenies, who are also Ariane's parents. Dylan is grateful that the slaves were rescued, but worries that their attack on Triton's palace has proved problematic, and he and Ariane travel to the elven capital of Maple to inform his fellow elders. Back in Ladoya, Gleenies spars with Ark to see if he is strong enough to keep Ariane safe, and Ark is beaten by Gleenies multiple times, making him realize that high combat stats do not necessarily equal skill. The elders, unwilling to risk war, decide to continue rescuing slaves in secret. Ariane is surprised to learn that her older sister Evan is getting married, as she had always sworn to never marry. Ark decides to have a bath, but when Ariane enters the bath naked, she sees Ark in full skeleton mode, panics and blasts him with explosions. Dylan officially hires Ark to help Ariane continue freeing slaves and as payment tells Ark of a magic pool that might cure his skeletal appearance, but which is only found near the Lord Crown, a spirit tree that grows in the territories of Dragon Lords, the most dangerous dragons in the world. Ark accepts the payment, but when alone becomes curious to see if his appearance really is caused by a curse, and is shocked when, using a curse-breaking spell on himself, he gives himself a human right hand. Ark's hand instantly returns to bone, but it confirms that Ark's appearance is indeed cursed. He and Ariane set out for Olav, hunting the slave-owning nobles. They are warned by an innkeeper that haunted wolves have been attacking travelers. Uriarna leaves Rodin to travel to Limbult. Ariane considers hunting the wolves, as a bridal veil made from their tail fur would be an excellent wedding gift for Evan. The wolves do attack, and Ark realizes the pack leader is wearing a magic ring like the basilisk. He destroys the ring, waking the pack leader from a trance. The leader then takes his pack and leaves peacefully. Ark is sure the rings are the reason monsters are acting strangely. While Ariane prepares the slain wolf's fur, Ponta senses danger and leads Ark to where Yuriarna's coach has been attacked, and Yuriarna, her maid Ferna, and her loyal guards have been killed by treacherous guards and assassins. The killers attack him, but Ark's armor proves invulnerable to their weapons and magic, and he kills most of them with unexpected assistance from the wolves. Using a powerful rejuvenation spell, Ark resurrects Yuriarna, Ferna and several loyal guards before sneaking away. Seeing Ark while half-conscious, Yuriarna believes him to be an angel sent by God. Ark is unsure about the morality of a spell that can resurrect the dead and keeps what he did secret from Ariane. Reaching Olav, they witness a young woman expertly defeating thugs, and Ark recognizes her as the cat-eared ninja. The ninja, Kiyam of the Jinshin clan, is searching for members of her species enslaved by humans and asks Ark how he knows about ninja, since that word was created by their great founder, a human named Hanzo, whom Ark realizes must be another Japanese person who came to this world and founded a ninja clan centuries ago. Kiyam asks for their help and Ariane, as Ark's employer, agrees. Dackers is furious the haunted wolves failed to kill Yuriana and, suspecting a revenge plot against him, is sent to a safe house by his subordinate Cetrian. Kiyam asks Ark and Ariane to attack at Sate Slave Market as obviously as possible, thereby distracting the city guards so that the ninja can infiltrate the other markets. Ark hides his unique armor under a cloak and tribal mask. Kiyam introduces Gomen, a fellow ninja, causing Ark to realize Hanzo named himself after Hattori Hanzo and used the names of other famous ninja as honorary titles, meaning Kiyam is named after Mochizuki Kiyam and Gomen after Ishikawa Gomen. As Gomen is a giant as tall and powerfully built as Ark, they instinctively challenge each other, then, realizing that they're evenly matched, become instant friends. Ark and Gomen attack the market guards and compete to outdo each other, but go overboard and accidentally bury themselves under rock as Kiyam and the exasperated Ariane watch. Learning of the attack, Dackers sends soldiers to protect the slave markets. Ariane and Kiyam begin freeing slaves while dispatching the guards. Gomen sends Ark to join up with Ariane and Kiyam while he holds off arriving reinforcements. The beast people are easily freed, but Ark, Ariane and Kiyam also find a cell full of dead slaves, killed or left to die for being unsellable, as too old, injured or sick. Ark teleports the survivors to safety, then rejoins Gomen to massacre the soldiers and utterly destroy the market. After the destruction is completed, Ark and Gomen retrieve the dead slaves for a proper funeral, and Kiyam swears to hone her skills to save even more people. Cetrian murders Dackers, revealing he was working for Sect all along, and since Yuriarna has not been located, Sect frames Dackers for Yuriarna's apparent murder, leaving him sole heir to the throne of Rodin. Yuriarna arrives in Limbult, and learns from Siriarna of Dackers' death, realizing Sect probably plotted her murder as well, and decides to keep her survival a secret for the time being. Kiyam reveals to Ariane that Dackers was working for the Holy Revlin Empire and sent them many elf slaves. Ariane and Ark decide to travel there immediately. In Revlin, Emperor Domitianus is impressed that Sect has eliminated both Dackers and Yuriarna, but is more surprised someone destroyed the rings he had sent Dackers to that control the wolves and basilisks. His subordinate confirms that Domitianus' agent, Fumba, is continuing to work to destabilize Rodin. In the desert beyond Rodin, a sneering Fumba watches as worm-like monsters erupting from the sands capture and devour flying wyverns. After a rather electrifying encounter with a flock of wyverns, Ark and Ariane reach a village on the edge of the desert. Ark notices that Ariane is unusually nervous and learns that the slave trade in elves is legal in Revlin, so she is worried about traveling there. At the village tavern, an elf, Karsi Held, introduces himself and explains that he is able to coexist with the villagers and makes a living studying monsters. He asks for Ark's help in catching difficult monsters, offering a map of Revlin as payment. Ariane struggles with the idea of coexistence, and over a cask of wine that evening in their room, Ark unfortunately discovers that Ariane is both a lightweight and a bad drunk. The next morning, Ariane is furious to discover that her antics have caused the villagers to think that she and Ark had sex all night, with Ark's comments not helping the situation much. Karsi plans to capture a sandworm using goblin carcasses as bait, while Ariane is still trying to recover from her hangover plus travel motion sickness. Suddenly they are attacked by a worm that has grown far larger than natural, and only Ark is strong enough to defeat it. Another ring is seen on the sandworm, but shatters and disappears after the worm's defeat. Karsi tells Ariane that he also once hated humans but grew to care about them, and reveals that Lambert, a town in Roden, is governed by a human lord and his elven wife, with whom he fell in love after rescuing her from slavery, and Ariane becomes more optimistic. The worm's unnatural growth is revealed to be caused by Fumba, who has been feeding them and other monsters, slaves and kidnapped villagers on behalf of Emperor Domitianus. Ark, Ariane and Ponta arrive at the border town of Keisuke. In order to find the captured elves, they separate, and Ark learns that strange cries have been heard late at night from a fortress to the east and that people have been mysteriously disappearing. On his way to meet up with Ariane, Ark rescues a street girl from 3 kidnappers. The girl, being pretty and clinging gratefully to Ark, doesn't sit well with Ariane. The failed kidnappers were working for Fumba to collect food for his controlled monsters, and Fumba punishes them by feeding them to his giant white tiger monster. Ariane has learned that captured elves had been brought to the fortress 4 months before and insists on investigating the fortress. Sneaking in and finding a secret passageway, they arrive at an underground chamber where they confront Fumba. Suddenly, Ariane attacks Ark, bewitched into believing she is training with her sister Evan. Ark spots an imp hidden inside Ariane's cloak hood. Ponta rips it out, and Ark destroys it, freeing Ariane from its control. Fumba reveals that he is a Rozumbanya monster sorcerer who can make monsters obey him. Ark questions him about the elves, but Fumba tells him that most of the elves were used in the Empire's magic experiments, while he used the remainder as food for his pet. Enraged, Ark quickly kills the white tiger monster, and Fumba orders his other controlled monsters to attack. Ark is easily able to slay the monsters, but when an ogre attacks the unconscious Ariane, Kiam appears and uses her water ninjutsu to overcome it, telling Fumba that the other Jinshin ninja have already dealt with his other monsters. Suddenly the ground begins shaking and Fumba flees, saying his greatest monster has awoken. Ark teleports everyone outside, where they are confronted by a 5-headed Hydra. The Hydra attacks Ark, Ariane and Kiam with its fiery breath, leading Fumba to believe they have been destroyed. Fumba sends the Hydra to destroy Keisuke, while a flashback reveals that Fumba's clan elders believed him undisciplined and weak, leading him to take service with Emperor Domitianus. Ark uses his holy shield to protect everyone, and Ariane, who has been aware of everything Fumba previously said about the elves, vows to destroy him. They split up, with Ariane and Kiam chasing after Fumba, while Ark stays behind to deal with the Hydra. Before the Hydra can reach Keisuke, Ark summons the infernal demon Ifrit to battle the Hydra. Ariane and Kiam catch up with Fumba, and Ariane taunts him with his personal weakness. When Fumba is goaded enough to attack her, Kiam attacks him and damages the magical body markings that allow him to control monsters. Ariane's fiery sword destroys Fumba's whip and the flames consume him. With the Hydra damaged by Ifrit's attack, Ark flings it into the air and Ifrit destroys it with its flames. Meanwhile, Princess Yuriarna meets with elven elders Dylan and Lord Fangas, and they agree that the Rodan Kingdom will take responsibility for the crimes against the elves, locate the missing enslaved elves, and defend elven territories in exchange for the elves backing Yuriarna in her bid for succession to the Rodan throne. After learning this news, Byadank is whispering foul, which means Ariane's mission is now officially over. Ariane is uneasy and uncertain about the future, but Ark and Kiam reassure her. Sect is disturbed by the news of Yuriarna surviving the assassination attempt, and successfully negotiating with the elves, Yuriarna ponders her own destiny. Domitianus learns about the destruction of Fumba and his monsters. Kiam sees Ark's unhelmeted face for the first time, and Ark decides to continue his travels with his friends.
I hope you liked the recap. If so, don't forget to subscribe and like it.